whatever?
Yeah, what if we did that?
Okay, hold on. Let me just stop this again and delete it.
Uh-huh. That was a false start to the show. Just a little bit of a fake start. Just cause.
Okay, are you gonna have like the trailer or something running or?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, let me know when you're ready then.
I'm ready. We're recording. We got it.
Okay, good, because I'm recording now too. So,
Sweet.
with that, I had to swallow some spit.
Gross.
With that,
That's how we're starting?
yes, that's how we're starting.
Okay, cool.
And then I'm just gonna jump right into something like, "Welcome to Azeroth Roundtable, episode 352. My name is Ben Bumhofer. It is a wonderful, special, awesome occasion here, because with me this week is John Jagger. How's it going, John?
Hello, Ben. It's going well, and this is exciting. This is the time of the year, except for last year, where we get to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, that's right. So if you are here only for World of Warcraft discussion, one, why are you ever listening to our show? Because we're off the rails all the time. But two, as I'm sure the intro music keyed you in as well, it's a special Star Wars edition of Azeroth Roundtable.
That's right, and let's go ahead and just say it right up front. We are going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. We will be talking about all aspects of this movie, which will include spoilers. We will also likely be talking about potentially any of the Star Wars movies with spoilers. And, as an added bonus, we're probably also going to talk about The Mandalorian, the full season, which will also contain spoilers. So, if that is a dangerous prospect for any of you, now's the time to tune out.
Exactly. Nothing is off limits here. We could be talking about the Ewok adventure Caravan of Courage. Who knows? That might pop up. And if you haven't seen that and you don't know how Sindel and her brother's parents were rescued, well, we're going to tell you.
Wait, was her name really Sindel? Like the
Yeah,
Mortal Kombat character?
I think so.
Wow.
Crap, now I need to look it up because I'm
It
pretty
is.
sure.
No, that sounds
I'm
right.
I'm
after
like
you said it.
90% sure. I don't remember her brother's name because, he wasn't in the second movie.
Yeah, they all die, and then she gets rescued by some dude named Noah.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, he was cool because, it was diabetes. So that's not a bad thing.
Diabetes. I hate these Ewoks and diabetes. The two things.
Yeah, but Teak was pretty dang cool. You got to admit.
No, I don't think I liked Teak.
Oh, really? I just liked how super fast he went all the time.
He was super fast, but I watched The Dark Crystal recently.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the little creature in that?
I don't remember.
With the big mouth.
Yeah.
I got him confused with Teak. And when he showed up, I was like, oh shit, it's this guy. And then he ended up being awesome. So I'm pretty sure I don't like Teak.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't know, though.
And I can confirm it's Sindel is her name. Her stupid brother's name is Mace. Yeah, it's Mace. It's pretty dumb.
Was the last name Windu?
No.
Okay.
They had no last name.
Who knew Mace was such a popular name in the Star Wars fiction? A regular Jeff, that name is.
Yes, quite true. Anyways, but we, as I said, we might talk about the Caravan of Courage, but probably not. That's probably where we're stopping that because a brand new Star Wars movie came out. In fact, it is the final movie in the Skywalker saga. That's right. It is number 9 out of 9.
9 for 9. For now.
Yeah, for now. I mean, there's going to be more. But
Unless they decide they really need to extend that Skywalker saga again.
I hope not.
Well, we'll get into that, Ben.
Yes, we will.
So, that's been your spoiler warning for everything. You've been warned. Now Ben and I are going to talk about it. And Ben, I think, especially in the case of this movie.
Yeah.
The place I want to begin, because I know you and I have a history. We always tackle this a different way. Sometimes we just go through the movie and we kind of discuss it beat by beat. But the very first thing I want to talk about for this movie is my general reaction at the end.
Okay, so like, you mean as we're walking out of the theater, hey, this is what I'm thinking.
Right. My
Okay.
general overall feeling about the movie, both immediately walking out of the theater and honestly right now. If I just think generally back, like I was in the theater, saw a movie, how I felt. And that's what I
Okay.
want to talk about first.
Okay. Go ahead and go for it. If you take the thing that I've been spouting off as my catchphrase about this movie, I'm going to be rather upset.
Well, it just
But,
means we'll agree,
oh,
uh,
okay.
which is fine. But the reason I want to talk about that is because I had a blast watching this movie. I had a
Yeah.
really good time. I like these characters. I like the universe. I love Star Wars. I was shown things that were really cool. I saw things that I wanted to see that I never thought I'd see in a Star Wars movie. I saw lightsabers and ships and battles, and there was fun, witty banter that had me laughing. And I had a really, really good time watching the movie. And I walked out and I was like, yeah, that was fun. And that's how I felt walking out of the movie. And I want to just preface with that because one of the big problems I have is whenever I try to get more granular than that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
opinion shifts very harshly. And so I think it's important to separate those two things. And so I just, for right now, want to say gut reaction walking out of the theater was, man, that was a lot of fun. I had a really good time.
Yeah, I will say that. So I did enjoy the movie, despite what it may sound like at certain points of this podcast. It is a lot of fun. It's the end of a 9-part series. And I will say that after I saw it once, I did see it a second time the next day. And I enjoyed it a lot more the second time I saw it. A big reason for that is because I knew what was going on and I could just kind of sit back and turn my brain off and just enjoy the ride a lot more.
Yeah.
And like, because of that, like, and this is going to sound weird, I'm hesitant to see it a third time, just be like, okay, I've seen it. But at the same time, it's still Star Wars and it's still in a theater and I still just like want to just live it.
Yeah, it's a thing that back in the day when, I was one of those people that when I saw The Phantom Menace, I was like, no, it's a good movie. And people were like, it's not really, though. Like, you kind of got to think about it. It's not. And I was like, no, it's the best movie ever. I was not believing otherwise, even though I knew how I felt when I heard the first lines of dialogue from that movie. I knew what my stomach was
Oh my
doing.
god! Just with all due respect, it's like, what?
I
You don't
don't
start out. You don't start out a movie with all due respect to a calm. That's weird.
I don't know how that movie manages to flub its literal first line of dialogue to make me feel uncomfortable, but it does every
Like,
single time.
okay, I swear, I was sitting in the theater when they said that. I'm just like, oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but even though I knew that's how I felt, I came out of it and I was like, no, it's the greatest movie ever. And
It's because of Duel of Fates.
I felt very strongly about it, but it wasn't just Duel of Fates because I think somewhere in the back of my mind, there was a part of me that was saying, no, you know what, John? We need to like these movies. These movies need to be great. Otherwise, we don't get any new Star Wars movies. And I felt very strongly that was just what was going to happen. If these weren't amazing, we would never get another Star Wars movie again.
Yeah, well, you know what? You were probably sitting there like, hey, you know what? Well, you know what? It's probably going to be better than the next one.
Well, so the thing is that we now live in a world where we know we're going to get more Star Wars. We know we're going to get more Star Wars after this.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's on TV, whether that's, cartoons, comic books, movies, we're probably going to get all of that stuff. We know we're going to get more. There's no need to have to be precious about it. Like, Star Wars is here. It's going to stay. It's fine, and it's great. And honestly, just before we started recording this, I posted a tweet because, I don't know if I've ever seen, even in the prequel days, if I've ever seen people so, absolutely hostile about their opinions on the movies.
Oh, I know.
Like, it's bad. And I posted on Twitter just before we started that, guys, gals, everybody, it's all Star Wars. All of it. Like, you don't have to like 100% of it, but whether you like it or not, it's all Star Wars. And we should be thankful that we live in a world where we get more of it. Now, if you sit there and you just like the originals and you don't think they've ever done anything good on movies, TV, comic books, toys, games, whatever since then, it's never been good, then okay, maybe you can fold your arms and be a bit of a curmudgeon. But like, at the end of the day, no matter how I felt about these sequels, it led to things like The Mandalorian, which we're going to talk more about, and I freaking love, and that's a thing made for me. And so if there's other aspects of this series that doesn't feel quite for me, then that's fine too, you know, because there are things that are for me, and there are things that different friends are going to like, and different people are going to like, and that kids will like, and that adults will like. And it's going to be varied, and it's all Star Wars, and we should be happy that we all get to celebrate it together, rather than just focusing on, oh, you like that movie? Well, I like this movie.
That's so true, though. It really is. And I mean, I think you nailed it. It's like you can like it all and still not like parts of it.
Yeah.
And that brings me into Rise of Skywalker. I mean, so the thing that I was gonna say, and I like anybody who asks me, I say this, and anybody else who's talked to me is probably sick of hearing this by now, but it was a horrible sequel to The Last Jedi, but it was a great ending to a 9-part saga. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that The Last Jedi was like so diverse in opinions and everything that I don't know if, because J.J. Abrams came back, he really swung it the other way, or if Lucasfilm was like, oh crap, people didn't like something, and then, which the dumbest thing, Solo suffered because of that, which I think is just insane, but that's what insane fan bases do. So maybe they swung it back the other way. Maybe they just really wanted to honor what George Lucas said forever ago about how, these movies are like a poem, they rhyme. And, they wanted to just continue that rhyme. I don't know. But as someone who loved The Last Jedi, this was not the direction that I kind of thought things were going to go in. Now, that being said, I don't have an issue with them, telling a story that I didn't want them to tell, or telling something that, I'm like, well, I think it would have been better if how I wrote it like this in my fan fiction, which you can find online, or, nothing like that. It's just they turned around and changed some things that were established in the movie before that I kind of had an issue with. It's kind of like if you ever watch Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them or whatever, the second movie like retcons the ending of the first movie like completely. And it felt like some of that was actually happening here in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, there were definitely elements of that, for sure. Now, I had heard this, and so I went in expecting to feel like this movie, like, honestly, there was a point leading up to going and seeing the movie where I thought, like, Rey was gonna just, like, we were gonna open with her opening her eyes, floating over that rock, and Luke being like, yeah, that's a way it could have gone. Like, the way people were talking about how it throws out what happened in The Last Jedi. There was a part of me that was like, are they going to just like, and it was all a dream, The Last Jedi? What are they about to do? And so I think I wound up being a little pleasantly surprised with how well I felt it actually did tie into The Last Jedi. Because everybody loves to talk about how The Last Jedi is like, oh, look how edgy and different they made it. But it is a maybe edgy sidestep, but it's a movie that walks pretty much right back to the mythology. Like, in the end, the very thing that Luke... We're going to talk a lot about The Last Jedi. We probably shouldn't.
We definitely are.
But in The Last Jedi, Luke literally does say, what am I supposed to do? Go face down the entire First Order with my laser sword? Like, he does it in a mocking way of, and a lot of people like hear that and they go, oh yeah, look at that. They're gonna mock the tropes of the other movies, but that's literally what he does. And the mythology of that, it takes a hard look on what is myth, where do heroes come from, and my big thing about that movie, because a lot of people love to say, oh, it's a bunch of hours of pointlessness, but, those people should listen to Yoda, who tells you right in the middle of the movie that failure is the greatest lesson that anybody can face, and it's a movie about people failing. So it's a movie about people learning the best lesson they can and growing. And I really loved that. And part of that growth, to bring it back to Rise of Skywalker, is that by the end, you have had people deal with their failures and learn the lessons from them. And it does put you in a situation where Rise of Skywalker was in a place to kind of go back to telling this without, in my opinion, necessarily throwing out everything The Last Jedi was about. And there are elements, sure, that definitely are, we go back to a place of, family, a focus on family.
Yeah.
And, Last Jedi definitely played that up as, well, it's not about family. It doesn't matter. It's not about blood. But this movie also kind of has a similar message to that, because it has a very, it's the family you find, not necessarily the family you're born to.
Yeah,
kind of
and
message.
You don't have to follow the same path as your family. You're able to make your own decisions and make changes and become the person who you want to become.
Yeah, and at no point in this movie does somebody go and grab the little Force broom kid and just murder him and is like, you don't get to be a Jedi. Nobody said that can't happen, that the story that the Last Jedi proposes can't move forward.
Well, that's because we've never heard from him again.
Right. He's just not
So
he's just not in it. He's not important to the final story. Honestly, it would be weird if all of a sudden they felt the need to bring in some random kid and they're like, remember Broom Kid? He's back.
No, they're just at the Resistance base and he's sweeping up the jungle.
Yeah, they brought him into the Resistance so he could be a Broom Kid there too. We've liberated you. You're saved. Yeah.
Perfect. But I mean, the biggest thing that I think, I would have loved to see it go differently, is the fact that in The Last Jedi, Rey was a nobody. To me, it's something that's really brought back a lot of what I loved about the original trilogy, about how the Force is a mystical thing. Anybody could have the Force if they're able to. Everybody is part of it and stuff. And the fact that Rey was a nobody, she developed Force powers. It like the Force chose her. It's something that happened. At the end of The Last Jedi, there was hope. There was Broom Boy. It's how it could be anybody, and I loved that. And then, well, I mean, going back to the original trilogy to the prequels, then George Lucas came in and threw in midichlorians, and then it was okay. Well, it can kind of still be that, but here's the biology behind it, so we can test you on that, and it's just not that mystical anymore. So I loved how Last Jedi kind of brought that back, but then in Rise of Skywalker, it's because she's a Palpatine. That's why she's as powerful as she is, and it threw away what I thought was like the best character progress that Rey had. Coming to terms with that, I think Rian Johnson said it in the commentary, how he put her in a situation that would be the worst situation for her to face, and just having nobody was the best that or not the best, but that hardest thing for her to overcome, which she did by the end of the movie.
Yeah. That said, I will play devil's advocate for Rise of Skywalker. Even though I kind of agree with you. That said, this trilogy was going to have a villain problem. Snoke was a shitty villain as of The Force Awakens. I know there's going to be some people that are like, well, they should have stuck with Snoke. No, they shouldn't have. I was completely uninterested in him in The Force Awakens. to me, he didn't even start to become likable until Last Jedi, and then I liked him because he was the kind of Force user that would bop you on the back of the head with a lightsaber, and I thought that was pretty funny. I was like, oh, look, he wears gaudy robes and he bops people. That's pretty cool. I'm starting to maybe think the Snoke guy might be all right. And then they killed him, and I was like, oh, even better, because turns out I don't think he was very good. Um, but then, that does leave you with a difficult decision, because if you're, coming in to make this movie, you've got a hard choice to make. You either take Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, and you do something new, and you go full villain with him, and you genuinely make him the villain, which is not the story they were telling. But
No, not at all.
you either go full villain with him, or you have to introduce somebody at the last stage to, suddenly be a compelling villain, or you make Rey the villain for some reason, and you go Game of Thrones. We know how great that worked out.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when the preview came out with her, with Darkseid Rey out there, people are like, oh my God, she's gonna go evil. And I'm like, no, she's not.
Yeah. We kind of knew that wouldn't happen, although, again, Game of Thrones, so it was a possibility. It was maybe the year for it, but
Yeah, and then Ramsay Bolton shows up, and you're like, oh, okay.
I don't really think that the Emperor should have been brought back, but at the same time, if you're gonna try and have a final chapter and a final villain, I mean, this is what you have to do almost.
Yeah.
Like, he's the only character that's evil that could transcend supposed death. He's the only character that's been built up in any believable way to be a quality villain besides Kylo Ren. Like even Hux, you could have made he could have made a big power play, but he's been such a joke through all the movies up to this point that, like, really, the big hurdle at the end of the road is Hux? Like, what are we doing?
Which is why they brought in another commander who we knew nothing about whatsoever.
Yeah, I didn't like that. They should have kept Hux around. Hux was great. He's one of my secret favorite things about the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, with how serious he is with himself and everything else, it's great.
I would watch an entire series about Hux just taking himself seriously in life, just absolutely messing with him. It was really great.
I mean, after he gave his speech on Starkiller Base, you would have thought that he was kind of the head guy. But, whatever. It's cool.
So I think in that regard, bringing Palpatine back, making her a Palpatine, making it about family, makes a little bit more sense to me. But I do agree, if I had my choice, if I was going to turn around and go, oh, here's the thing that I would prefer, obviously I wouldn't tie her to anybody. And the ending honestly still works. Like, her deciding to take the name Skywalker at the end of the movie still works if she's a nobody. In fact, I would argue it might be something that I like better, because the last name Palpatine has always been stupid. And honestly, I'd change my name whether I was cool with the Emperor or not, because I wouldn't want to be known as Rey Palpatine. I'd want to be known as Rey Skywalker.
Yeah, no kidding. But I mean, the thing that sucks about all of that, and he really was the best choice for what they had going, but still, it's like, this is the third time we've fought him. This is where the whole George Lucas rhyming scheme comes in again and everything. And, like, okay, I could see 2 trilogies doing it, but 3 trilogies, that kind of gets to the point where it's like, okay, I kind of get it. And because of that, like, there's a lot of rehash that happens here if you look, like, just beneath the surface. Like, I don't know if you know this, John, but Force Awakens very similarly, like, matches A New Hope.
Oh, I might have read something about that on the online.
But yeah, like, Rise of Skywalker does this, like, same exact thing with Return of the Jedi. There's so much that's the same. And again, I get where it's coming from. I get where, why. And again, as the ending of a 9-part series, because that's the thing, is you have to keep in mind that this entire thing is this gigantic massive story, and it works so well there. But like, consolidating that in my head is where I keep having issues, and where I keep coming up with like the whole like well and buts and things like that. And
Yeah, I mean, it's my biggest issue too, is the similarities, because to me, you know, I wanted to believe that these movies had something that they wanted to say or do or tell. And when the first one, very closely mirrored A New Hope, I was kind of okay with that. I was like, okay, people are
yeah,
very skeptical. People don't think that you're going to be able to pull this off. People don't think that Star Wars can necessarily work again. So you play it a little safe. You give people a very easy to understand and follow formula of, the hero's journey to go through. You you give them a safe space to care about these characters. And they pulled that part off, because I did. I like these characters. I'll go
oh yeah,
controversial. I think I like overall these characters more than the originals. And I know
ooh, that
that
is
probably
controversial.
sounds crazy, but Luke is not a great character. He's whiny, he's shitty, he's sorry people who want to be pissy about Rey. He's good at everything for no good reason. Like he's just like Rey in that regard, and I find him just a little less interesting than Rey. Han Solo is going to be Han Solo. You're not going to beat him. Like he is a archetype, and he is the go-to archetype when you think of a, you know, space pirate. Like you're going to think of him.
Yeah, but
But
John, Poe is now literally Han Solo because he now has a backstory of doing the same exact thing that Han did.
see, I don't even think I would compare Poe to Han. I think I would actually compare Poe to Leia, because I feel like he's the Leia stand-in. And I like Poe more than I like Leia. So,
Yeah, well,
uh,
he has switched over to that because I mean, he was a spice runner, and I'm like that. No, why? He like his whole backstory beforehand was, his parents were in the rebellion. He grew up kind of in a military family and stuff. They were at the Battle of Yavin, and he had this really awesome, cool story. And then they just threw in the little bit about, oh, well, he has a connection to this planet because he ran spice, and then left to go join the resistance. And I'm like, okay,
well, and I don't really want to fall down a rabbit hole on what they did to his backstory. My point is they got me to care about the characters. Like,
yeah,
and
true.
whether you like the originals or you like these, because I already know I'm pushing controversy by being like, yeah, I think these characters are probably better. Um, I'm sorry, they haven't been around for as long and become so precious that you can't see past it. I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying that in general. So maybe I'm too taken by the new shiny, or maybe you're too nostalgic, but I really like these characters, and The Force Awakens did a really great job of selling me on them, which is a hard thing to do, because when you say we're going to bring in a bunch of the original cast, like that's really all you really want to see initially. And this
Hmm.
got me to care about brand new characters, brand new droids. Um, I R2D2 was barely in this movie, and when I first saw BB-8, I was like, well, yeah, sure, okay, there's a new droid, but when are we going to see R2? And by the time these movies were done, I was like, oh yeah, R2 wasn't in it that much, I guess. Oh well, BB-8's great though. That's not to say R2's bad. I they genuinely made me care about things that I didn't think I was going to care about, and kudos to them for doing it. But that's the point where you have to stop and say, okay, now we're going to tell a different story.
Yeah.
And they did with The Last Jedi. And that's why I think I was so hopeful, as I was like, okay, we'll let it go, the similarities this time. And then we get Last Jedi, and it's like, okay, what are they going
Yeah.
to do? Are they going to dissolve
Interesting
Jedi?
stuff.
Are they going to tell a story about how, like, look, the cycle of the Sith and the Jedi is this cycle that just keeps repeating and falling apart, and we need to do something different because, like you said, George Lucas says it's a story that rhymes. Okay, so is this, I hate to use the Game of Thrones saying they kept using nonstop, but is this where we break the wheel? Are we going to break the wheel in these movies? Great. And then this movie came out and literally does the Return of the Jedi ending. So much so that it feels like there's a point where they are like, I don't know what to do with the ending. I don't know, do the Return of the Jedi ending. And they start to do it, and then it's like someone came in and went, stop. We're literally we're showing places that aren't even in these movies. What are we doing? We're doing...
Yeah, but Bespin looks so good in 4K. Look at this.
It's just...
Look at Cloud City.
It's extremely distracting how much of this is literally the ending of Return of the Jedi minus Yub Nub, except there were Ewoks that got shown for sure too.
But it's also the ending of A New Hope because Chewie got a medal.
It got a medal, and there were Force ghosts, and maybe one day we can CGI another Force ghost in there or something. I don't know. But
just put Hayden Christensen in there too.
Yeah, why not? I actually wish he was in this movie, but that's maybe a different topic.
See, let's swing it back to some good stuff again. Just because I don't want to be too negative, because again, we both liked the movie, with an asterisk.
It's just a movie I can't talk in depth about. Like, that's the problem. Is the good thing I have to say about this movie is I was happy when I finished watching it, and I had a fun time watching it, and I felt good after I watched it. As soon as I have to get more granular, I'm like, well, I hated this, and I didn't like this, and this doesn't make sense, and I hated this, and this was awful, and yet somehow all these parts that I feel are really, really broken still equated to something that I really enjoyed.
Like how, every sort of steak that was spent is undone 10 minutes later.
Are you talking about C-3PO? I thought we were
And
talking
Chewbacca.
about... Oh, yeah, Chewbacca's dead. I didn't believe for a second
I never
he was
thought that
dead.
he was dead either. Yeah.
But I was like, he was on the other transport that I saw.
Like, okay, you know me and droids. I love droids, okay? It's like the thing about Star Wars that I love more than anything else, followed very closely behind, is like the Force and lightsabers.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when C-3PO was there and they went to one of the greatest new characters in all of Star Wars, mind you, Babu Frick is amazing and I freaking love him. So they go there, and when C-3PO has this beautiful moment where, like, he has no emotion because he's a freaking droid, but when he's looking at his friends for the last time, it's just like, okay, this is really actually touching, and this is like the most touching C-3PO's ever been, because he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, he's a hard character to like. Not a lot of people gonna be like C-3PO favorite character.
And like, he had some really good moments in this movie. Like when they're on the planet, when they're out at Burning Man, and then they all like look at him, and then he just kind of turns around and looks to see what they're looking at. Like, that was hysterical.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, I mean, when he told R2, you're my best friend, it's like, well, of course, right there is like, oh, he be dead soon. But like, even when he told R2, you're my best friend, it's like, that's really great. And the thing is, if you know about Star Wars lore, you know that droids are supposed to get their memory wiped, like, a few times a year. Well, it doesn't happen to R2 and C-3PO very often, so it's kind of a big deal. So then when he goes and he gets his memory erased so that he can, talk about the Sith translation and stuff like that, it was a really big deal, to the point where I kind of teared up a little bit, because one, I didn't know if his whole like personality and everything was going to be gone and he was just going to be a shell and like actually dead, or if they were going to reboot him, which is what they did, which turned out to be pretty funny. It was good stuff. And then he gets to R2, and then everything's fine.
Yeah, it's real disappointer, because I heard from some people who got very emotional about this movie, and I wish that could have been me. I wish that a lot, and I think they almost had me with the C-3PO moment, where I was like, oh man, like, this really is a touching, heartfelt moment. And as soon as, like, I thought there was going to be something, because once they do it and he shuts back down, I didn't see anybody racing to turn him back on or anything. And I was like, wait a minute, did this do something where it wiped out
he's
his
gone,
neural
yeah.
net or something? Are they just going to leave him on a junk pile and walk away? Like, I genuinely thought that was going to be something that happened for a minute. And, like, I felt my heart breaking, and I was like, oh my gosh, I care so much about C-3PO, and I didn't think I did. And then all of a sudden he wakes back up, and I was like, okay. And he doesn't remember anything, and I was like, all right, well, he made his sacrifice, and now he's going to come along, and there'll be some chuckles here and there at the expense of C-3PO, just like before. And then I thought, well, maybe they'll do something interesting, and this new memory will have a different personality because he's, being thrown in different situations. And then, you're right, as soon as R2 just fixes it, I was like, oh, I don't know if this movie has stakes anymore. And it does. It kills off characters, for sure. It's not a ton.
Who kills off character?
Kills off Leia and Ben.
Well, I mean, yeah.
At least two.
That was really hard too, because I love Carrie Fisher. Like, outside of Leia, Carrie Fisher is amazing. So, like, seeing her die in this was heartbreaking because it's losing Carrie all over again,
Yeah.
But the thing is like, every single bit of her on screen was from The Last Jedi. So weaving her into the story and everything else was a little weird at times, but I think that they did the best that they could, and for the most part, it's pretty successful. But I don't know. That's another part of when I said the second time I saw it, I shut my brain off. It worked a lot better that way. But knowing, like, sitting there in the theater, like, oh my gosh, how is this working and everything? It's a bummer.
It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly.
Honestly, because I'm so glad that this is the path they took, but I'm just lying if I tell you it wasn't distracting every time she was on screen. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so happy that we got to see a kind of proper-ish arc to her character, and that we found a way to sort of, it's a tragedy that she couldn't be there, that we couldn't see it played out the way it should have been, that we can't see what the original intent and vision was. This is a, kind of a dark consolation prize in that regard. And I think they did the right thing. But again, just being honest, it was on my mind literally every time she was on screen, and they put her on screen a lot. And so I can't help it. Like, I wish it didn't distract me as much as it did, but it did.
Yeah, it's like the one part that really sticks out in my mind of, wow, they wrote that because there was dialogue from The Last Jedi in some way with this, was where suddenly, I don't remember exactly what it is, but Rey's saying, like, oh, well, I'm going to go find the Sith thing, blah, 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 or something like that. Or use the Force or something along those lines. And then BB-8 makes a noise and stuff. And then Rey's like, oh, BB-8, I bet you could if you would if you could. And then Leia's like, never underestimate droids.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, like you said, it is what it is. And, like, they couldn't recast her. There's no way that would have ever worked.
Right.
And you can't just not have her in there. It's like, oh, the general died off screen 2 months ago. That's a bummer.
Right. I mean, yeah, people are going to understand probably whatever you did, except maybe recasting or super bad CGI.
Oh, God,
but,
super bad CGI would have been the worst.
But, people are going to understand. I understand. It was distracting, but, it's not like she wasn't willing to show up or anything, and this is what they were forced to do. It's a case of there's something very tragic that I understand, and I'm gonna say, okay, yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way it's gonna be, and it's gonna be awkward. But again, I feel like at one point you were like, "Hey, John, let's talk about the positive things," and we went right back.
Yeah,
to things.
that's my fault. I kind of jumped right into the C-3PO Chewbacca thing.
Yeah, I was happy to see Lando back.
Well, of course he's at Burning Man. Where else would he be?
No. Again, there's a lot to like about this movie. I'm trying. Okay, how
Okay,
about
so
this? Adam Driver was amazing in this
oh,
movie.
well, to be
Like,
fair, he's been amazing in all of them.
yeah,
Like he's probably like, gosh, I mean, first of all, I love Daisy Ridley, and she's done awesome too. Like the two of them have really sold like the entire trilogy to me. I think they've both done amazingly well. But Adam Driver definitely takes the cake in this one. Just the range of emotion and everything that he goes through is fantastic. Like all the wavering that he had in the entire trilogy and everything is so believable, and you can see him. And then when he has his interaction with Han, and he knows it's just his memory and everything, but it's just so powerful, just seeing him, consciously actually go back and make that switch and go back to the light side. And God, it gave me chills. It blew me away.
yeah. It was an incredible journey for that character. I don't, I don't know if I love the neatness of like he was redeemed and then dies. Again, maybe just
Yeah.
because it mirrors too much of what Return of the Jedi did. Um,
Wait,
but
who did that in Return of the Jedi, John?
I didn't necessarily love the love story out of it, but I think it actually was okay based on the performances. Any other actors in the world, it might be the worst love story ever made. But between the buildup they had in The Last Jedi and then the culmination here, I
Hmm.
think they managed to sell a love story that should not work in any sense of the word. Uh, and they managed to kind of convince me that it was okay. Uh,
Like, I I'm with you up to the point where the kiss happens.
yeah, it's a
Just
little
because,
weird, but she was.
yeah.
I don't know. It.
Well, the thing is like it's really emotional for both of them and everything. She's, he came back to the light side, saved her life. They've had this connection through the Force for a while now and stuff. So like, I get it, but I don't think that worked.
Yeah, it was also a little tacked on.
A little
Like
bit, but
it just felt like, and then they have to kiss because of course they do.
because it's a movie.
Yeah, because it's a movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
So some other random things that I really liked, when Rey is confronting Palpatine by herself, and she's does the whole like come to me with the Jedi, and you hear all the different voices, and like actually realizing who all is speaking is, I thought that was really powerful.
yeah,
I especially love the fact that Hayden Christensen's voice was in there. They had Ewan McGregor as well as Alec Guinness. They had Kanan from Rebels. They had Adi Gallia in there. Yoda was in there. I mean, just overall, like that was one of the coolest parts of the
friggin'
movie.
Ahsoka Tano was in there.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
she's so great. But I mean, like it. This movie is so full of like little touches that just like really boost it up into some awesome stuff, and that was really one of them in my book. I really thought it was powerful, it was effective, and just it helped tie everything all together, and I really enjoyed that.
I mean, the thing that I would have no fear of getting from, you know, J.J. Abrams from this movie, and I think the thing that maybe gets nailed the best is characters. I think the new
Mm-hmm.
characters that get introduced are great. I think all the new characters are great. It does make me a little upset that we introduced so many new characters while pushing other new characters to, oh, I was relieved to see that Rose was in the trailer and was going to still be a part of this movie. Oh, you mean the
Yeah,
trailer showed me pretty much 100% of her screen time?
that was
That
such a bummer.
sucks. but here's a new character. The characters are good. It did make me maybe wish for a little more screen time for some that were not there, but the characters are great. The look of the movie is great. The like story beats and the little pulls of emotion that you feel, when the ships come warping in and you have star destroyers versus just a million other resistance ships, like all that stuff really hit and landed for me. Like those are the things that are going to be solid. The visuals, the characters, and the sound work. It's just, if I was going to put my tagline on how I felt about this movie on it, and really kind of drive a point home, is this movie seemed only really interesting, or only really interested in being the end. It didn't
Yeah.
really seem to have anything else it wanted to say, except this is the end of the movie. This is it. This is the end of the saga. It didn't really want to push anything forward, and I think that's why you have the Return of the Jedi ending. I don't think it's because JJ said, "Oh, well, what if we ended this exactly the same way Return of the Jedi ended?" I think it's because, at the time Return of the Jedi got made, they thought they were wrapping everything up, that was probably going to be it, most likely. And so they did an ending that was very celebratory, very reflective, very, we've come so far and we're done. And this movie didn't want to challenge that. This movie wanted to do that, and it did it again.
And John, it just doesn't make any sense though, because the entire battle is so that the ships don't get out of the out of the planet's gravity and everything. Yet all of those scenes show ships in space over planets where they were blown up because they got out, I guess. It doesn't make sense.
I don't know, man. The ending is weird.
Yeah,
I didn't take that though as the Star Destroyers. I took that as First Order ships, like that they've rebelled against the First Order. Like the first movie, the First Order takes over. The second one, they're consolidating their power, and the third one ends with like, look, yeah, resistance wasn't that many people, but people fought back, and now the First Order is burning again.
Okay, I like that better. I mean, they were all Star Destroyers, but they could have been just normal First Order Star Destroyers, and I feel a little bit better about that because, John, I'm sitting there, I'm like, the fuck? Or like, when the one that got out to go blow up the planet that we were there for 2 seconds on, I'm just like, oh, okay.
Star Wars needs to stop with the planet blowing up.
Yeah.
It was
and the fact that every single one of those ships was a planet killer. It's like, come on.
It was a really weird goal to begin with that we all didn't think too much about, and then later thought too much about and went, man, that's weird, right? Like, you just want to destroy a whole planet? Like, really? There's nothing on that planet that you want.
Because they could get all the crap from the rebel afterwards. Do all the mining and everything. It's probably easier to mine some stuff because, the rock's right there.
There's nothing else on that planet that you want. Nothing. It's got no resources, you don't like water? What? You just don't want the whole thing. The whole thing on, like the Death Star 2, I get. It blows up entire capital ships. That's great. Thanks, IG-88. That's not canon.
Thank God it's not canon anymore. Oh my God.
But I get that. But like, man, you know what we need to wipe out a planet? Why?
Well, you know what? Let's wipe out an entire solar system instead.
Why?
Because John, it's fear. Fear. Like after the Death Star blew up, when they realized it's like, oh yeah, people will fear it, but guess what? It's kind of a horrible thing to do, and people are gonna just band together to stop it. Like they're creating their own doom by creating these super weapons.
Like, yeah. It's not great. And yeah, the idea of like, well, we thought blowing up a planet was cool, so what if we blew up a whole system? There's nothing you want in the system? Did you think if you blew up
where
a whole...
the senators are, John?
If you blew up a whole star system, then people would be like, oh, they got a star system. I was gonna rebel, but they were willing to blow up a system instead of just a planet, so I'm gonna fall in line.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
By the way, did you know that Starkiller Base is Ilum?
I've heard that theory.
No, it's not a theory. It's fact now. It was in the, I think it's the Rise of Skywalker Visual Dictionary.
Oh yeah, they confirmed it.
It's Ilum. Yeah.
That's cool.
And apparently because of the big trench on Ilum in Fallen Order.
That was what gave me the hint, but I didn't know it was confirmed.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's
hey,
confirmed.
here's a fun thing. Let's never talk about Starkiller Base because that doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah, no, we're not going to.
I don't.
How do you hyperdrive a planet to a bunch of stars in order to suck them up to blow up other systems?
Right. Or was that it? Like, I guess, honestly, with the criticism I'm giving the Death Star, that makes the most sense. Like,
Yeah.
we made this planet gun, we're going to shoot it twice, and then we're done. And then that's it. We shot it twice. No, what else do you need to know? We will build another one at some point if we feel the need. But it drains all the sun's power. And then there's no sun. When do they get the sun back?
They didn't. They had to have moved to a different star system in order to do that.
Why does everything in the sequel trilogy, why do they get to things quick?
Oh my god. Let me okay, that hyperspace skipping pissed me off so much. Because one, the entire point of a nav computer is so that you don't reappear inside a planet. So they had to turn the safeties off because, at least in expanded universe stuff, I'm assuming it carried over. In the nav computer, if you get too close to a gravity well, it just pulls you out of hyperspace so you don't die. So they jump and then they're on another planet, and then they jump and then they're on another planet, and they're seconds away from each other. And if you think about it, all of these planets have to be in an exact straight line in the exact, like, where they are in their orbit so that the Falcon doesn't just crash into everything. And they're so distinct and different, but like habitated, like, are they different systems? And it was so like, don't get me wrong, it looked cool.
Also, remember last movie when they needed a capital ship to track somebody through hyperspace? And it was like a whole big plot, and nobody believed it could even be done, and they kept saying,
TIE fighters do it now,
that's
John.
impossible. Yeah, TIE fighters that don't have hyperdrives, man.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm willing to forgive the hyperdrives because these are the First Order TIEs, which have 2 seats, a gunner seat and everything. So there's a potential of a small hyperdrive.
Maybe.
I'm willing to overlook that in a technicality.
Yeah. We've gotten into just nerds upset.
No, I'm going to continue with nerds upset.
Okay.
Just because that part pissed me off so much.
It was
Sean.
really,
Just
really,
so much.
like, it was pretty bad. Like, honestly, throw Broom Kid away for a minute for all I care. Throw him into the Sarlacc pit. But don't make a whole movie about how hard it is to track people through hyperspace and then open your movie with hyperspace skipping.
But the thing that upset me so much, John, is in my rewatching of all the other movies, Obi-Wan does it in Attack of the Clones.
What?
Remember, he puts the tracker onto the Slave One. Slave One flies away. He follows him. But the thing is he had to go fast enough so that he jumped out of hyperspace pretty much right after. So there's no way that it was just a quick jump from Kamina to Geonosis. And then, there they are, boom, just one quick jump, and then he's right there, right next to him as well. So Kenobi did it as well.
Maybe, Ben, that wasn't a tracker, even though they call it that. Maybe it's a hacking device that hacks coordinates and feeds it live from one nav computer to another.
Okay, that, you know what? That is a good nerd logic answer.
See, as we've just gone down the realm of just nerdy things that bugged us. And what is the point of Stormtrooper armor? It doesn't do shit.
Yeah.
Armor in Star Wars didn't do anything until The Mandalorian.
So, okay, a couple just quick other things really quick, because now I'm opening up grievances. Why is it that when you punch a Stormtrooper, they get knocked out? I don't get that. It's happening all over the place.
Their heads ring around in the helmet, and it.
Oh, so it's like football. Okay.
Yes, it's very loud in the helmets, Ben.
Okay, cool.
Very loud.
Also, holy crap! How could Lando go from the outer region to all over the entire galaxy to get that fleet and hop back in like a half hour? Like, that's not how hyperspace works.
Well, also, it started with like, hey, we've got like 72 hours or something like that, and then they go from planet to planet, and like that was supposed to be a thing that took a long time. Like,
yeah.
remember when Luke, I mean, granted, these are in legacy books, a lot of this stuff, but remember when Luke used to go into like a Jedi trance in his
Yeah,
X-Wing?
for days.
Yeah, because it took a long ass time, because space is really big, as it turns out.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
not the kind of space where if somebody blows up a star system, you can just see it out by looking out at daytime.
You know, that beam would have been like so freaking humongous. Oh,
Okay,
jeez.
we
That
are
would have been, yeah.
we are falling down a rabbit hole. Here's the thing. Final thoughts on Rise of Skywalker. Do I wish they had done something different with the sequel trilogy? Yes. Am I grateful for the characters and the journey and the story I was told and the fun that I had and the chance for, 3 years with these movies to go to the theater with friends and have a good time and experience Star Wars and all of that? I wouldn't trade that for anything. And ultimately, that rises above all the problems that I have with the movie, which are many, as we've heard. But I'm grateful
still
for the
enjoyed it.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that is really the big takeaway here, because just trying to talk to some people about Rise of Skywalker, I appeared to be in like the minority of people who actually had issues, even though a lot of people online do. But I guess in our friend group, I don't know. But yeah, like a friend of mine was like, "Oh yeah, it was so great. At least they didn't do anything like Last Jedi." And I'm sitting here, I'm like, "That was like a really good movie." And I mentioned it, he's like, "I can't talk to you anymore." The
Yeah.
whole nerd thing. And I'm just
Yeah,
like,
we're at a war with each other. We didn't realize it, but we're at a war.
yeah. So then I'm like, yeah, well, and like I started breaking down like the big things that people didn't like about The Last Jedi, and they're like, yeah, well, no, I didn't have an issue with that. I didn't have an issue with that. I didn't have an issue with that. So I'm just like, we're ending this before I just flat out ask, what did you have an issue with, and just destroy that idea.
It wasn't the story I wanted. That's usually what it is. Or
Yeah, which you have to get past. I'm getting past on this.
There was a whole point of the story that was pointless. It wasn't, though, because it was about...
It was character development.
It's made more pointless by a follow-up movie that doesn't decide to do anything with it, but it certainly asked interesting questions about the universe.
Yeah, but what did talk about it was The Mandalorian, because they brought up Canto Blight. I always forget the last... Yeah. I want to say Blight because
it's a
it
blight.
Just sounds better. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to talk about The Mandalorian?
Yeah, I mean, we've already gone an hour, but I think that we need... before we talk about Mandalorian, do you want to do the whole, like, what's your order of Star Wars movies?
Yeah, people like ordered lists. Let's do an ordered list.
Okay.
You start because you seem more prepared than me.
Yeah, I actually wrote it out as we were talking. I don't even think
I think I wrote
exactly
it on
perfect.
my phone. Hold on. Well,
Okay.
you talk and I'll look it up.
Well,
And see
question for you: Are we including Solo and Rogue One, or just the 9?
We can include them.
Okay, so should I go crappiest to best?
Yeah. Let's do it that way.
Okay, so upon my reviewing and everything like that, I really thought about where I would put everything and stuff like that. And John, you are right. Attack of the Clones is the worst.
Oh my gosh, this is the one? This is the time where you're gonna finally... I'm so happy. Like, I know you're talking about a movie you don't like, but for so long. Well, no,
here's the thing. I do like it because it's Star Wars.
Right.
But it's the worst.
It is.
Yeah.
The reason it doesn't hold up is there were the things that I was like, oh, well, that salvages it because that's cool. I don't think are cool anymore. I don't like Yoda fighting.
Yeah, I don't either. That's horrible.
Which removes one of like it would be like if all of a sudden I woke up one day and went, oh, Duel of Fates is garbage. That's probably never going to happen. But if that happened, that would dramatically impact my feelings on Phantom Menace.
Yeah, but oh my god, after rewatching Phantom Menace, I'm like, there's this huge freaking plot hole just sitting right there that I can't believe I never noticed before.
All right, well, I'll give you my bottom one as well. We can
Okay.
just see how we do. My bottom one is also Attack of the Clones.
All right. Okay, good. I'm glad that we finally agree on this and that you did sway me over to this way of thinking because you're right.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
And I was going to say let's trade off and I'll go next, but I got to give my next one some serious thought.
Okay, no worries. For me, my next one is Phantom Menace.
Okay.
Again, that plot hole just destroyed it for me on this viewing. I'm just like, oh my god, why? And well, I'll say it really quick. Hey John, guess what?
What?
The Chancellor sent 2 Jedi to negotiate to stop this blockade, right?
Yeah.
They never report to the Chancellor about how they were, I don't know, how they were, attempted murder. That's kind of a big thing. I would think that a Jedi testifying that, yeah, there's a blockade and they're trying to kill everybody, I think that would kind of make a big thing so that there's not some sort of investigation, because aren't Jedi still supposed to be like the defenders of peace and order in the galaxy? So
See, that's just how corrupt the government was. That's why we needed a Palpatine.
I still think that's just so horrible. Like, it's never thought of, hey, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, could you come tell them what happened?
Yeah, why don't they come back and just go, they tried to murder us? Maybe we should have some harsh words for the Trade Federation.
Yeah, but still Phantom Menace, also because I don't like it all that much, but it's still Star Wars, so I do enjoy parts of it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the safe play, as much as I would love to be very controversial here. Because there is a Star Wars movie that's very low on my list typically that a lot of people love. I'm going to still say Phantom Menace is probably the next one for me too.
Yeah, I know that we're starting to get into territory where we're gonna think each other's crazy pretty soon.
I'm gonna say this about Phantom Menace though, because on my rewatch of it, I liked Phantom Menace a lot more than I thought.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just I've come to know Jar Jar's lines so well that they don't jar me anymore. I'm not like, oh crap, he's being stupid and goofy. Like, he just didn't bother me, and when he didn't bother me, the elements that bugged me so much the first time, all of a sudden, those faded away, and the things that I liked, like, there's a lot to like in that movie. The pod race is good. Duel of Fates is good. I think Qui-Gon is an awesome character.
Oh, Qui-Gon's
a
fantastic character.
Great introduction to, young Obi-Wan and Queen Amidala. Like, I think all that stuff is pretty darn solid. And I think it has a lot going for it. I think it's just some awkward dialogue, some bad acting, and a weird pace, which we didn't talk about for Rise of Skywalker. Oh, yeah. With its pedal to the metal pace, like JJ was like, well, I don't like what they did with the second movie, so I'm gonna make 2 movies in one, and we'll do it by going double speed. We can get through 2 of these suckers. We'll do it.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's kind of what it was.
Phantom Menace also moves at a really weird pace that you either will hate or kind of enjoy, and it's
because they've got to get those riveting Senate scenes in there. And
see, that's the thing, though, is I was like, yeah, this movie's all about trade disputes and Senate discussions. And then I looked at how fast that movie goes, and it's not. It's barely in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. And I was actually kind of kidding about that. But yeah. So, okay, so you said Phantom Menace. Okay.
Yep, Phantom Menace.
So, next up for me.
Yep.
My next least favorite is Revenge of the Sith.
Okay, so you got all 3 prequels right there at the bottom.
Yeah, and again, it's all Star Wars, so I like it all. This is, least favorite, not worst.
Right.
Yeah. That being said, Revenge of the Sith, it's got some neat stuff in it, but it's also got some poor storytelling, some bad dialogue, and a completely sidelined character that had a much better part in cut scenes. Basically, Padme is just a baby factory in Revenge of the Sith, and that's a waste of a character.
That's true. You're not wrong there. All right. Probably the biggest change to my list is at this point. I'm gonna say Solo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Solo.
I thought it was going to be a different one for you.
It typically is. The one you're thinking of is typically my second to last. It has moved up.
Third to last.
Third.
Wait,
No,
second-
it's
no,
actually
second- yeah.
usually my second. I'll put. It has been low on my list. There was a period of time where if you asked me, I would have called it my least favorite. It has moved up. Solo has moved down for me, and I'll say why for Solo. Solo just, I think Solo suffers from knowing that it's not going to continue. And so having, it now feels like a movie out of place for me. It feels like a movie that doesn't even belong on this list.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think of it that way. And when I think of it that way, it loses a lot of importance and it loses a lot of feeling. And all of a sudden it just has this weird watered down feel to it of none of this really matters all that much.
Like,
And
Solo would have made a good series.
yeah, it would have been a great Disney Plus series. I would have been very interested in. But yeah, Solo just, there's something about it that feels like classic Star Wars and it's fun in a really good way, but it also feels like a movie that wanted to be part one of a series, and in a world where part two, part three, part however many they end up, wishing they could do or would have done, where those don't exist, I don't think it holds up. And so I would put it down there. The only reason it's not at the bottom for me, honestly, is because what is there I do have such a good time with and do enjoy so much.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because next up on my list is Solo.
Hey, we got there.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with a lot of that. Like, anytime that Lando is on screen, it is a great movie. Anytime that they're flying the Falcon, it's a great movie. I like Chewie a whole bunch. He's actually surprisingly one of my favorite Star Wars characters that's I'm not very vocal about, but I love Chewie.
Yeah.
But the thing is that entire movie could have been in a different IP, and just like Star Wars was just kind of like a set dressing on it.
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of lost some of the magic for me. But yeah. So fourth or
No.
9, 10, 11th, whatever we're calling this for you.
Next for me is Rogue One, the one that you kept thinking would be my next one, because I don't like Rogue One very much.
Yeah.
And it turns out I still don't really like Rogue One. I just maybe don't hate it as much as I originally did. And it's we keep saying we don't hate these movies. I hated Rogue One to begin with. Not hated, that's maybe too strong, but
Yeah.
I had strong negative feelings towards Rogue One. I still kind of do. I think that movie is kind of the opposite of Rise of Skywalker in a lot of ways, where I think the characters in Rogue One are garbage. I think that there are some interesting ideas, but I think it's a lot like people like talking about their D&D character. It seems really cool if you're in it, and it seems like you've got a cool idea in your head, but you just telling me about it, I'm not going to get it. I'm going to get maybe the 10% you're deciding to share with me, and that's just not going to be as interesting as you think it is. So I don't think the characters are good in Rogue One. I think the movie looks okay. I think the movie has a really cool end moment with Darth Vader and a really awkward moment with Darth Vader that kind of cancel each other out. And I think the movie has a story that could have been really interesting to tell that doesn't live up to its potential. So it has one of the best droids. That's a nice thing I'll say about Rogue One.
Oh, yeah.
K2SO, it's a character name I can remember. But it's got a whole lot of that prequel awkwardness with Saw Gerrera, where I'm just uncomfortable through the whole thing. This is
He doesn't make sense to me.
Google it. Like, what? Are you telling me to Google something? What the hell are you doing, Saw Gerrera? And I just do not care for Rogue One. But it has risen a bit in the ranks because there is fun to be had there. Like I said, it's a compelling story, the stealing of the Death Star plans. It has its place in the saga. It does a good job of tying itself to the saga, and I think that's what makes it rise above. I just wish it had spent a little more time on making the characters interesting and compelling to make the heartbreak of their loss and the importance of their sacrifice a little better, and maybe a little less time talking about the Booglit.
I agree with you on that. The Booglit, what the hell? There are points in that movie where it doesn't know what it's doing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's our bottom 4. Next up for me is Rise of Skywalker.
Ooh, that's much lower than I thought it would be.
Yeah. The big part of it is when I look on it and start deep diving, like if I take it away from it's the end of a 9-movie series, I have a lot of problems with it.
Yeah.
But again, I still like it. But I don't know at this point how much of it I'm trying to convince myself of versus like trying to get into a good discussion about it with people and then everybody just seeming to love it. I'm just like, oh, okay.
It's like
So
really wanting America to win a gold medal in something, and all they have to do is this really difficult, impossible trick and land it. And you totally saw them stumble on the landing, but you're telling yourself, no, they landed it. No, they did it. Unbelievable. They did it.
kind of like that, yeah. But that's one of the reasons why I'm really glad that we did this episode, because I really wanted to do a deep dive and really kind of explore some of the stuff that I thought and was having issues with and everything, and make sure that like I'm not just being nitpicky because I like The Last Jedi, because I don't want to be one of those people, that just hate The Last Jedi because it was different.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, they didn't tell the story how I thought they would or anything, but again, I still like, I don't know if we've talked about it before or not, but like I've read every single expanded universe book up until a 9-part series destroyed reading Star Wars books for me. And it was one of those things where the final book was just so asinine and dumb that I'm just like, okay, I'm done now. So I've had a lot of experiences where it's like, okay, it's still Star Wars and I like it. It's not, didn't go where I thought it would or wasn't as good as it could have been, but whatever, I still enjoyed it. And I think that's really where I'm landing with this one. Like, this is like, gosh, what is it? The Crystal Star. Yeah, it's Star Wars, and it does some weird things, but I still like it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the Crystal Star. I forget. It's been a while since I got rid of a lot of those books.
My next one is Revenge of the Sith. And honestly, I think this one has squirmed its way higher than it should. I think it gets a lot of like extra credit because I kind of associate it with the Clone Wars at the same time, which were pretty good.
Yeah.
But anyway, Revenge of the Sith, it gets a lot of credit for being dark. It gets a lot of credit for, not sucking by comparison.
Yeah, compared to the other 2 prequels. Yeah.
It's I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, this is way too high for this movie on this list. Because there are movies below it that I'd probably, if you were like, hey, pick between these movies, I'd pick the other one. But I don't know. I think it does nail a lot of what it tries to do. You're totally right. It ruins Padme. It introduces some really weird story stuff where I just think of this movie every time Leia's like, yeah, I remember my mom being sad. And I'm like, the hell you do?
Dead.
Stop lying to Luke. But
like, every time she says that in Return of the Jedi, I'm like, that was like your nursemaid or something, right?
Yeah, who told you they were your real mom? I don't think you know. So yeah, I don't particularly love Revenge of the Sith. But it creeps up because I think my problems with it are less severe than the problems with the things I mentioned below.
Yeah, I can see that. By the way, were you just tapping something a little bit like recently? Because I heard some weird like tapping sound.
Maybe I'm kind of bouncing my foot. It could have.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So listeners, don't write in about that. Anyways, so next up for me is Return of the Jedi.
Hey, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I like Return of the Jedi. It's a cool movie. There you go.
Man, Ben, that's weird. You haven't said Rogue One yet. Ugh.
It's gonna kill you where I put it too.
Oh, jeez, Ben, no. This will be the next
look,
victory for me is when you finally put that movie
you
where
said
it
your
belongs.
piece. You
I
said your
know.
piece. I'll say my piece when I get there.
I know, but one day this will be like Attack of the Clones for me, and I'll be like, yay! You heard Saw Gerrera say bogle it enough to lower it on your list. I'm so happy.
So yeah, that's let's see, 3, 4, 5. So 6 lowest, or so, I don't know how to count this out.
All right, the next one for me, assuming I haven't forgotten about movies at this point because I didn't write it down, is The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, okay.
So I started to make a list, and I stopped. And this list was not going to match my current list because I stopped on Solo, which I talked about a long time ago, and we're only just now getting to this. But I'll read what I wrote about Rise of Skywalker. I think I kind of said this, but fast-paced and maybe almost overly eager to please. It's a very fun movie with not a lot to say beyond the end.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of said that. That
Yeah,
works.
and that's kind of how I feel about it. It's fun. It's very fast-paced. It wants to be your friend. Like, it's like a over-eager puppy. You know, when it's there and it's in your face, you're like, I freaking love this puppy. And then
But it
you're
also
like,
pees a little when it sees you.
it chewed something I liked up, and then it peed, and I stink for some reason, and it's barking a lot. There's a lot of things to not be happy about with the puppy, but then he runs at you again, and you're like, oh, look at you, it's a puppy.
Yeah, okay. So see, after Return of the Jedi, for me, it's The Force Awakens. I'm with you. The nostalgia and the kind of the redo of A New Hope, it worked really well for me, and I'm with you. I love the new characters. I totally love Rey. I think she's a fantastic protagonist. I like her growth through the series. Poe's pretty cool, even though, like I said, I don't like how they just kind of backstory Hondom really quick. And Finn is pretty damn awesome too. I think that. Oh, this is something we didn't talk about at all. I don't know if you saw the thing that we never found out of what he was trying to say to Rey is apparently he was supposed to say, "Hey, I'm force sensitive too."
Yeah.
I think that's the dumbest thing. But whatever. It is what it is.
I think it's fine. I think it's dumb they didn't address it in the movie.
Yeah, I think it's dumb that they didn't address it in the other 2 movies either. But, whatever. Anyways, I like Finn, though. Finn's really cool. I especially love how he's just trying to run away, and then you see his turn. You know, the growth that he had, turning into an actual like resistance fighter and fighting for a big cause and everything, and like the lessons that he got throughout the series. Like I really like that in his growth, and he's awesome.
Yeah, I like the characters. I like the characters a lot. I think that's
also Kylo Ren, pretty awesome.
I mean, we're getting pretty similar here. Obviously, it's not exactly the same, but my next one is Return of the Jedi. So we're playing.
I've heard of that movie.
We're playing catch up. What I wrote about it here is endings are hard, but Return of the Jedi manages to end the arc satisfyingly. The journey isn't as fun as some of the other movies, but the destination is still strong.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
And that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, it has a great ending. It has some awesome moments in it. I just don't have as much fun getting from moment to moment as I do with Empire Strikes Back or even A New Hope or some of these sequel movies.
Yeah, okay. So we're up to our 4th favorite, which ironically my 6th favorite was Return of the Jedi. And matching with that, my 4th favorite is A New Hope. It started it all. It's very much the hero's journey. It's I mean it's classic. It's great. It's definitely geared more towards a 1977 audience. There's some slow points in there, but compared to Rise of Skywalker, it's the slowest movie in the world. It's a snail riding a sloth sitting on top of a turtle.
Yep.
But it's got so many great parts of it, and I absolutely love it. Although C-3PO is a total asshole in
He's not great in all the movies.
it. No.
My number 4 is The Force Awakens. And I wrote, perhaps borrowing too much from what came before it, but creates a fantastic new cast of characters along the way. Force Awakens best fits the comfort food viewing experience of the originals. And I stand by that. I think if you said, John, we're going to put on a Star Wars movie, there's a good chance that The Force Awakens would be the one I would tell you to put on if I'm not talking about one of the original trilogy movies. There's something about that movie that, even though you'll note that there are some movies I haven't said yet, so therefore I obviously prefer them, Force Awakens, I think, is one of the most watchable Star Wars movies out there. It looks great. Yeah. It sounds great. It is just a blast to have on and watch. It's, we've talked about its flaws being too similar to other movies, but there's just something comfortable about The Force Awakens that I really like.
That doesn't bother me, is with it, mirroring A New Hope so much.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's a good movie. It's a lot of fun.
All right, Ben.
Next up for number 3, Rogue One.
Finally, I was having an existential crisis on where you were going to put Rogue One.
So, okay, here's the thing. And, I see exactly where you're coming from. Okay, I get that. And I will be the first to say that Rogue One has a lot of flaws. Like, a lot of them. But here's the thing. This is talking about our favorite movies, not the best cinematic movies or the one that had the least amount of flaws or anything like that. And I don't know what it is about Rogue One, but I freaking love that movie. I've seen it a bunch. And personally for me, I like the characters. I mean, yeah, they're in one movie. They don't get to grow a whole ton, but there's some change in them. Like Cassian, you see the growth in him. Jin, a little bit. Like, I love Baze and Chirrut a lot. And of course, K2SO is the best part of that entire movie. But I like the fact that it's a kind of just a grandiose adventure. And you know what? Maybe it fits perfectly with your D&D comparison, because it seems like a kind of thrown together D&D campaign of like, okay, we're doing this. This is the party getting together and stuff. And here are the goals that they need to do. They accomplish them, and then it's TPK. And
and the DM definitely didn't plan.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. Like I said, overall, I have fun with it every single time I watch it. I enjoy it, despite all of its flaws.
It includes a creature that the DM looked up called the Bogalet. He didn't really read about the creature's description and what it could do. And as he tried to describe the effect it would have on the pilot, realized that he needed that player to be able to be in the game later, so it serves absolutely no purpose to the story.
That would be a flaw. Like I said, the whole Saw Gerrera stuff, it doesn't work. Like, why Jin wasn't like, oh, we gotta go, let me grab this message. Like, there's a lot of flaws. A lot of them. But I love it every time I watch it.
All right.
I mean, you got to give me that. At least it's me admitting it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I'm not crazy, because and honestly, I feel like I am, because more and more people I keep hearing just spout praises for Rogue One, and I continue to be absolutely baffled by it. So it's good to hear from people who like that movie that are like, yeah, it's got problems. I like it in spite of it.
Yeah, John, it's Dragon Ball Z. It's got a lot of issues, and it's not exactly good.
Like Dragon Ball Z. Don't compare Rogue One to Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, but John, you like it even though it's horrible. That's the same thing.
All right. Anyway.
Okay. Anyways, your third favorite.
My third favorite is The Last Jedi.
Oh.
I wrote this. I wrote, the greatest teacher failure is Controversial and thought-provoking, The Last Jedi challenges you to see beyond the myth and will reward those who want the journey. And I think that's probably pretty spot on why people are divisive about this movie. I think that there are people that just want the swashbuckling adventure just spoon-fed to them and they will just eat it up. I'm not trying to make that sound stupid. We all like that sort of thing. Like, Rise of Skywalker was a pleasing movie. It was a very eager to please movie. And, that sounds like I'm being dismissive of it, but that's a compliment. Like, it's good for a movie to make you want to have fun. That's what you're there to do. Mm-hmm. I think Last Jedi challenges a little bit more. And I feel like if you're willing to go along with the challenge, you'll be rewarded. It's a movie that the first time I watched it, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this movie.
Oh, yeah.
It is the only Star Wars movie that when I'm done watching it, I can't stop thinking about it. I will continue to think about it for nights after I've watched it. Every single time I watch it, I think about something different or I find something new to ponder, even things that I didn't like about the movie, I've turned around on. I hated Canto Bight the first time I saw it. Now I actually think it's an interesting part of the story. So it has really been a movie that has shifted for me. It's incredibly interesting. It sets up a really cool universe that I wish I could have seen more of, and hopefully one day will.
All right. My second favorite is The Last Jedi.
Oh, let's talk more about The Last Jedi.
It's funny because in a couple ways, the rhyming scheme of the entire saga fits really well with this. It rhymes very well with Return of the Jedi, not because of actual themes and things going on with it, but a lot of the underlying stuff, like learning a lot about the Force, seeing it through different eyes. Going from A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back. It's like, oh, well, guess what? The Force lets you control stuff. And then in Empire, it's like, oh, you can move stuff with your mind, too. Holy crap, that's huge. That's a totally different thing. Then there's the whole dark side cave and the visions and seeing the future and everything. And Last Jedi explores the Force so much more. It talks about balance and everything. And, like, everything that Luke kind of comes to on his own and stuff is really great and interesting. And then seeing him learn from his mistakes and re-embracing, the Jedi and everything and the change that he goes through. I love Poe's arc. I love Finn's arc, and I'm turning around on Canto Bight as well. It still doesn't. It still feels weird, but I like what it accomplishes. I love the introduction of Rose. Rey's story throughout the whole thing is great. Ben's story throughout the whole thing is great. Like, all of it is, it's really good and a fantastic continuation of The Force Awakens and growth in the story. And I think that's the strongest thing that it has going for it, is that it really grows these characters that we've come to really love.
Yeah.
And not even just the new characters either. All the old characters grow along with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is Luke, like, there's this weird thing where it's like, well, the character's old, so they're perfect. And, like, no, like, they have things to learn. Like, they can still grow. Like, it's one of my least favorite things when people come up with the saying, like, I'm old, therefore I'm set in my ways and nothing can change. Why? Like, why is that not the case? Why can't Luke be wrong? Luke hasn't known much failure in his life. Like, he doesn't fail a lot in the Star Wars movies. And he suddenly puts himself, the galaxy puts him on a pedestal. And the pressures that you would put yourself on if you were in that situation. And what's it like to finally actually fail? Like, it's something that is one of Luke's fears. If you look at what his arc is in the original movies, is he has a fear of failure. And then he fails, and he hurts his sister and his brother-in-law, I assume. I don't know how it works in space. But, you know,
Well, when a mom and dad love each other.
he fails his sister and his friend, and he fails their child. And he does something that is the wrong thing, and he's ashamed of it. And Luke doesn't handle it well, and he makes a mistake like anybody does.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know people are so weird about the like, well, that's not my Luke, but literally J.J. Abrams is the one who put him on that path. He's the one who told you we're dealing with a Luke Skywalker that saw the way the galaxy was going and left. And left to go be on his own. What did you think that was going to happen? That she was going to show up, hand him the lightsaber, and he was going to be like, you're right, I'm the freaking hero, and take the lightsaber and go charging back into the fight when he intentionally removed himself? Like, I just don't get that. So, and also there's a reason why every time we talk about The Last Jedi, we talk about it for longer than anything else.
Yeah, there's so much packed in there that's good.
Mm-hmm. So I'll break that for everybody who's like, I don't want to hear about The Last Jedi anymore. My number 2 is A New Hope. This is what I wrote.
I had a feeling because there's only 2 movies left.
Yeah. Almost every other movie riffs on the themes of this movie, sometimes for better and sometimes for worse. Regardless, you have to recognize the establishment of it all, especially when it was new.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely.
You know, as much as I love The Force Awakens and call it comfort food, A New Hope, which it riffs on a lot, started that a long time ago, and that's worth acknowledging and appreciating and putting where it belongs as a result.
Yeah. So I'm fairly confident here. We'll just say it together. Hey John, what is your favorite Star Wars movie?
Well, Ben.
The Empire.
The Empire
Okay. That Strikes Back.
The Empire Strikes Back. Perfect.
We did that right.
Set it together to show unity and agreement.
Yeah. There's, not in. It's funny. Scott tweeted out. I don't know. Yesterday, the day before, maybe today. Who knows? That in the future, he thinks that The Last Jedi is going to be looked as fondly upon as Empire Strikes Back is. And who knows? But one of the big reasons why The Empire Strikes Back is the way that it is because it took this great formula of A New Hope and grew it into just this masterpiece of storytelling of tragedy and, like, in a way, kind of togetherness. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like wove it into this great story that, I mean, if you want to talk about cliffhangers, this has got a great cliffhanger to it. And like from start to finish, it's just this amazing journey to go on. And it always wants you leaving you with wanting more. And I mean, of course, we get a lot more after it, but it is, yeah, it's the best out of all of them.
Yeah, what I wrote here for it was The Empire Strikes Back. The characters come into their own mystery, adventure, romance, and surprises. This one chapter has a little bit of everything and plays it all perfectly. And that's what sums it up for me. It's got characters that I love. It hits all the aspects of what a Star Wars movie is. Like, it hits literally every single one of them. It's funny, it's sad, it's hopeful, it's depressing. Like, it's mysterious. There's shocking reveals. You know, it lands on every single level of what a Star Wars movie could be, not just a few of them. And it puts these characters in a whole different situation and a whole different light. And every time it has a chance to do something with those characters or those plot elements, it does it the right way.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So that's our list. Not too different.
We're at an hour and a half here. Should we just do another episode about The Mandalorian next week?
We probably should, because we don't have a ton. Like, WoW's in a lull. Yeah. What
Yeah,
if we just
okay,
did a
let's do it.
Mandalorian podcast for the New Year's?
Yes, that's right, everybody. It's going to be episode 2 of Grand Moff Talkin'.
That's right. That's what we decided to call these. It's such a good name. Oh, man. Hey, we can name it that for the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
There's
we
there's a
can.
Moff in it. Is he a Grand Moff though? He's just a regular Moff.
I think it's just a Moff.
Ah,
Yeah, okay, cool. So then, surprise, everybody, you get a bonus Star Wars episode next week.
we're gonna probably be a lot more positive than we were this week.
Yeah, okay, so no spoilers yet, but hey, John, do you like The Mandalorian?
Uh-huh.
Me too.
I do, as it turns out. We can rank our episodes at the end. It'll be just like
No, we're not
this.
doing that.
No, I got a list of them. It's great.
I gotta figure out my list then.
All right. Well, again, in closing, Rise of Skywalker. I really
Enjoyed
had a good time. I had a lot of fun, and I'm not gonna think about it too much. And I will be happier for it.
I am gonna try and see it again sometime before it goes out of theaters, and also just check my mind at the door so I can enjoy it a lot more. But yeah, fun movie, good movie, great end to a 9-part series. Which, I mean, to be fair, no matter what they did, they weren't gonna stick the landing perfectly.
No, so they went with the movie that did, and they were like, "Let's do that."
True.
Let's show a bunch of planets not necessarily related to this episode, happy, and then someone seeing ghosts. Because all good movies should end on somebody seeing ghosts.
Exactly. Well, John, until next week when we do part 2, where can people find you?
Can I tell you a dumb joke that I heard earlier? Seeing as we said we'd spoil the Mandalorian, and we've already warned people. I heard somebody say today they did a fake little script talking about the events that happen at the end of the Mandalorian.
Okay.
With oh man, no, you know what? I'm not gonna remember the joke. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah.
Research it for next week.
I'll research it. I'll tell a great Twitter joke that wasn't even mine next week.
Yeah, you do
Hell
that.
yeah.
All right, John. So where can people find you?
Follow me on Twitter at John_Jagger. That's where I'll be, and you can find me there.
All right. If you're looking for me, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Ben Bumhofer. And this show, Azeroth Roundtable, where we exclusively talk about Star Wars. Find us on Twitter. We are at AzerothRT, mostly for World of Warcraft stuff. And of course, you can find us on the web, AzerothRoundtable.com. Email is AzerothRoundtable@gmail.com. And when we aren't spoiling a whole bunch of stuff, we stream Friday nights. So check out the Twitter, and we will tell you when we do.
That's right. Hey, typically we talk about World of Warcraft. We still maintain that we're a World of Warcraft podcast because, with the exception of one episode a year, and now this year 2 episodes a year, we talk about WoW, and that's probably why these people support us by going to patreon.com/AzerothRT. And thank you for supporting our WoW talk and 2 episodes of Star Wars talk, as we've decided today. A special thank you to the Murloc Club, Aaron, Blixie the Rogue, Brandon O, Caleb M, Kilroy Tastic, Sarah M, and Taryn. Thank you for your generosity and helping us out. But in a Star Wars way.
I know, it felt a little weird to do it a Murloc. So instead, I'm going to do this. I am going to turn my sound on my phone and do this.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So until next time, if you're really looking for World of Warcraft stuff, wait another week. But until then, be good to each other, and may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with us, all of us.
It's a trap. And that's a podcast.
I don't know why I'm being so quiet.
I'm like, were you stopping yours? I was waiting so that it wasn't like weird.
I don't know. Oh, right. I should stop mine. It is still going. Okay, we're
Oh,